Hey everyone, thank you for watching. Today's video I am so excited to do. It's gonna be another 2021 wrap-up video. I know, we're still talking about that year. But today I'm gonna be talking about the makeup releases that I am glad I skipped in 2021. The releases that I have no regrets, that I did not purchase. If you are ready for it, let's go ahead and get started. All right, before we jump in, let me show you my outfit of the day. We're not very stylish today. Oh, there's Aries is making herself known. Today I just have on leggings, and then I just threw on this kind of cropped sweater. I just got back from the gym not too long ago, and then immediately got ready to start filming. So that's all we have going on today. I did do just a little bit of filming on this look. I always link all of my makeup in my description box if you're curious, but I did purchase the new Charlotte Tilbury. I don't have the actual foundation, it's in my bathroom, but I purchased the new Charlotte's Beautiful Skin foundation. I have a first impression demo here on YouTube, and then I also did a little demo for my Instagram over on Reels today. So that is the foundation. I am testing it out so I can get a review up as quick as I can. All right, I think that's everything, but it was, I always have a lot of fun doing this video. I love doing videos in my regret series. I have a whole series of regret buying, don't regret buying, regret not buying. The one of the whole wrap up of 2021 and what I'm so glad that I didn't buy is always such a fun one, because there's releases at the beginning of the year that I'm like, I barely remember that coming out, but man, yeah. No, I am glad I didn't buy that. So I initially have a pretty big list. I try to narrow it down to the products that I was curious about buying, because obviously there's so much makeup that released and so much that I'm like, yeah, that's cool that I skipped it. So I tried to narrow it down on that, and then I believe I picked 10. Did I pick 10? I lied, it's definitely more than 10, but you know what, that's fine. Let's just go ahead and jump into it. All right. So first up, this was something that I saw at the beginning of the year, and I was like, oh yeah. And to me, what was so funny is when I saw this, it was one of those where I couldn't quite remember it, even though there's been releases almost every single month for it. Let me tell you about it. It's BH Cosmetics and their Birthstone collection. So they had a new palette come out every time we would go into, what did I say earlier? Every time we'd go into a new month, because it's Birthstone, I think I was thinking of Zodiac. Every time we would go into a new month, they would have a new palette, yet still I was like, interesting. Hello. I feel like I didn't see a whole lot of videos. I think Angie did quite a few with the palettes, and she's such a big fan of BH Cosmetics, and she created some really beautiful looks with these. I guess I should scoot over so I can be adding in some photos of these products. But to me, there was a few that I thought were pretty, and of course I'm always interested in the one that is for me, right, is my Birthstone, and the one for March just didn't, it wasn't quite the one that would have been for me. And then I don't know, it's like a weird thing where like you see another palette, like the Pearl palette I think it was, and it was like, oh, that's really pretty, but that's not my Birthstone. Is that weird? I feel like I had those thoughts. But as I look back over the year and I look back over my purchases and everything that I used and tried, I'm like, you know what? I'm cool. I'm not upset that I skipped over those releases, including the March palette. I actually have two different palettes that I was going to mention from Urban Decay. So the first one we have is the Naked Cyber palette, and then also the Naked Wild West palette. So the Wild West came out before the Cyber. I think the Cyber was a little bit more towards the end of the year. And when I tell you that I don't recall the Wild West coming out, like Aries is drinking her water, if you can hear that. She's pretty close by, obviously, since I'm in an apartment. But the Naked Wild West, because I remember I initially wrote down, like as I was creating this video and putting together all the products, I wrote down the Urban Decay Naked Cyber palette. And then I was going through, usually I go through all of my Will I Buy It videos where I see all of the new makeup releases, and I saw that Wild West and I was like, is that the Cyber? Which palette is that? And then I had to look it up and I was like, wow, I barely remember that one coming out. Urban Decay is actually pretty hit or miss for me, especially with their palettes. And actually, if you watched my eyeshadow palette declutter that I did, it was my last video of 2021, I decluttered so many palettes, no brand was safe, Holy Grails were decluttered, and a lot of Urban Decay palettes were decluttered. Their Naked Reloaded though, I love that palette. I think it's fantastic. But I decluttered the Naked Cherry, I decluttered the Naked Honey, I decluttered the Naked Ultraviolet. Like, their formula, I've actually not really ever been a big fan of. I remember, you know, years ago, even before I was on YouTube or when I was first getting on YouTube, it seemed like all of my friends in my circle were like the Urban Decay Naked Palette, the Naked Palette, the Naked Palette. And I remember trying it and being like, I don't know, like, it's fine, I guess. But I was never super obsessed with them. Now, there's definitely some that I like. Like, I like the Honey Palette, I like the Cherry Palette. Like I said, the Reloaded is a favorite of mine. But especially with these two particular releases, I just felt so uninspired by them, and they were just not something that grabbed me. Like the Honey and the Cherry, I remember when those released, I was much more interested in them. These, I was just kind of like, what, who, where? So I'm not mad. I'm not mad that I skipped over those releases. I'm also not mad, I kind of snuck this one in here too, because I used to be on Urban Decay's PR, and I guess I am no longer, which is fine, that happens, it's totally fine. But I think it's because I don't love their palettes as much. I really like their Hydromaniac. That was mentioned all year long. I bought that myself. I love that product. I thought it was great, but yeah, no, the palette's not really doing much for me. I wanted to mention the KVD Vegan Beauty brand. Their foundation balm that they came out with, like the Good Apple Foundation Balm. This was a product that I became interested in probably along with a lot of you because it went super viral on TikTok, and so many people were just like, as they were trying this foundation. Like, people, it seemed like, were literally just like falling to the floor and just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe how absolutely amazing this foundation is. And it was just like, you see those reactions and you're like, oh my gosh, I clearly have to go get that foundation because I also want to fall over in shock at how amazing I look. Like, who doesn't want that? And then, you know, the tricky thing is with viral videos, and when people start jumping on the viral videos also, and they start buying the products and then they start hyping it up, we've come to a weird time in social media where, I'm not saying everybody does this, but some people do things just for the views, or like these like shocking faces sometimes can just be for the views. And hello, I'm right there with you. Like, I make funny like thumbnails sometimes because it draws people in. They're like, why does that girl look so silly? I don't know, I should watch this video. I mean, it is what it is. But sometimes with viral videos, you have to be a little bit careful because it's like, is that a genuine reaction? Are you playing it up for the camera? I don't really know what's going on here. And so instead of just losing my mind and running out and buying it, I was like, let me take a little bit more time, because the tricky thing was when I was watching these videos on this foundation, nobody was saying what type of skin they had. Were they dry? Were they combo? Were they oily? Were they mature? Were they youthful? Did they have acne problems? Rosacea? What was going on? Like, people were just like, ah! Especially when it comes to TikTok, I don't find a lot of reviews there very helpful. I still go to YouTube for my makeup reviews, and if I'm trying to decide if I want to buy a product, I'm typically going to YouTube and not so much TikTok, because people are doing 15, 30 second, 60 second videos and not really giving you a lot of information. It's not taking anything away from them. TikTok is super entertaining. I'm on there all day long, but I don't usually, I try not to buy a lot of makeup based on funny viral TikToks that say makeup is going to change my life. I hope that makes sense, and I don't mean to come off in a rude way by any means, or like, because again, like I said, I make the funny faces too. Like, you do all the things. This is just what our world has come to these days. But as I started looking more and watching YouTube videos and having people actually explain and demo and talk about their skin type and that sort of thing, I was like, oh, I actually don't think this foundation is going to be a good match for me. And then it was interesting because as more people hopped on this bandwagon, was like, I have to go try this foundation, then all of a sudden, like, the negative reviews started coming out too. And it seemed like at the time I had pretty oily skin, and it seemed like people with oily skin were saying, this is not a good foundation, it's gonna come off so quickly. I was watching demos of that, and I was like, you know what, it was probably good that I skipped that. You know, I gave myself a pat on the back of taking responsibility for what I purchase. You know, it is also kind of a weird thing with our climate that we're in these days. Personal responsibility has kind of like gone by the wayside, and we're always wanting to blame other people for our actions, for our purchases, for things like that. Once again, I'm literally in the same boat. I have done that before too, and it's something that I've really tried to work on, is taking more personal responsibility and not just blaming other people for my reactions, again, my purchases, things like that. You can't just see a couple of things on the internet and be like, I must go buy this product, and then be like, well, damn them, they steered me in the wrong direction. Well, you know, did you do your own research too? Like, kind of got to do that. So that was something that I've definitely been trying to work on for a while, because it was something that I really realized, especially going through a divorce, was there was a lot of issues that I was pushing on to other people. Sorry, this is getting deeper and this is getting off makeup topic, but it was something that I really tried to learn through my divorce. Is, you know, I was unhappy in these certain situations, so I was blaming other people around me for it, and that's not really fair. I had to be taking personal responsibility too, understanding my own happiness, etc., etc. But it kind of plays in when it comes to shopping, your makeup purchases and that sort of thing. We do have to take personal responsibility. So, you know, we're always just learning and growing and evolving and trying to be our best selves. Another release that was kind of towards the beginning of the year, and when I saw this one, I was like, oh yeah, that did come out. And also, even though I'd pretty much talked myself out of it, I like the brand and a lot intrigues me from them, so I kind of went back and forth of like, should I try it? And I'm talking about Milk Makeup and their chalk, this says handmade eyeshadow stick, but that you can also use it. It says it's a handmade powder pigment, can be worn as a buildable eyeshadow, highlighter, blush, or powder stick. My phone is charging, so sorry, so I'm reading off my laptop. And this was one that I immediately was like, that's gonna be a no for me, Doug, because just something about the word chalk, and when it came to eyeshadow, like it's usually like a bad thing, right? It gives you a bad, what word am I trying to say? It gives kind of like a bad taste, right? Like you don't want your eyeshadow to be chalky, and yet we're talking about a chalk stick for eyeshadow, which you can also use in different places. I was like, I don't know. But Milk Makeup is one of those brands that kind of can like sneak up on me with products that I really end up enjoying, including their skincare. Their vegan milk moisturizer, I did not expect to fall in love with that. I've repurchased it like 4 or 5 times. I just got a fresh one from Milk Makeup and PR, and I'm just like over here raising the roof. Like I had a few other moisturizers ready to go that I wanted to like test out and be able to review, and I'm like, nope, I'm gonna put the Milk Makeup back in the rotation because it's just a favorite of mine. So they do have some sneaky good products. Their primers, their under eye primer, I bought it, I really enjoyed. So that was why I kind of gave this one a second glance, and I was like, maybe I should just go ahead and do it. And once again, like I said earlier, we think about the views, and I was like, I don't know, maybe that would be something that would be interesting to see, because I feel like a lot of people have the same reaction as me of like, what? Like that just, I don't know. But I will say, I don't think I saw anybody review this. And when I say that, I'm not saying that nobody reviewed it. I'm just saying I didn't see anyone, and I can't see everything, and I can't watch everybody, and I can't consume everything. But for the most part, I glance at my YouTube homepage every time I go there, which is several times a day. I just don't feel like I saw anyone review this. So I'd be curious if anyone tried this out, or if you heard any reviews. But at the end of the day, I was like, you know what? I was okay to skip that. Speaking of skincare, just a brand in general that I'm not really upset that I didn't try out was JLO Beauty. And it's nothing against JLO. Honestly, I can't even tell you guys how many times I watched the Super Bowl performance with her and Shakira, and I was just like, these women are freaking mind-boggling. I don't know how they're doing this. JLO, I think, is just like a phenomenal woman, human, businesswoman, mother, all the things. And I'm really inspired by her for sure. And when she was launching JLO Beauty, I was definitely interested, because she's been around for so long in the spotlight for so long. And she's dabbled in with, you know, fashion and beauty and makeup and things like that in the past. So I wasn't particularly surprised. There's been a few celebrity brands that have come out that I'm like, But with JLO, not really one of those. And you know, her products looked really beautiful. The marketing was really beautiful. Obviously, there was a bunch of reviews going up on YouTube because people were very curious about it. But it was kind of, from everything that I heard, it was just kind of like so-so. It was pretty expensive for being pretty so-so. And it was just one of those that, again, at the end of the day, I wasn't upset that I skipped over them. It's one of those that my curiosity still kind of sparks up a little bit every once in a while if I'm like browsing the Sephora website and it's like, oh, you should try this one from JLO Beauty. I'm like, should I? But I continue to talk myself out of it, and I'm doing okay. A powder foundation that I considered getting is from One Size and their powder foundation. And quite honestly, I've heard pretty good things about this powder foundation. It was one where when it first released, I was like, I don't know. And then I started to hear the really positive reviews and I was like, should I go back and should I just buy it? And even after it launched, you know, it wasn't going to be a new release that I was going to be reviewing, which sometimes as YouTubers, we try to get things up quickly. It's, you know, good for our audience. It's good for our views. So I still had those thoughts of, even though it's not a brand new release and, you know, would people be interested in my review for it? Maybe I should still buy it. But I have to say, this powder came out and I bought it in, I believe it was in March or April. It was either right before I moved or right after I moved. I can't quite remember. But it's the Dior Powder No Powder. And I really haven't looked back since then. I kind of begrudgingly got the Kosas, their setting powder, because so many people have recommended it to me, but I really only got it because I got a sample size of it with a Sephora code with an order, so it was free. But it was just like, I love my Dior so much. I'm actually not wearing it today, which is quite shocking, but I've been liking, today's only the second time that I'm wearing the Charlotte foundation, but I like to set it with the Charlotte powder to see how those work together. But I'm definitely gonna try the Charlotte foundation with my Dior powder, because it is my most worn by far in my collection. I've gone through so many of those. I have a big old pan in my latest one. So it was like, that one I loved so much, I just couldn't really get psyched to purchase another powder foundation. But I do hear good things about it. But again, it's one of those where it's like, do I need to buy something even though I have some products that I really, really love? And that was kind of a big thing for me in 2021. And something that I want to carry into 2022 is to have more quality versus quantity when it comes to my makeup collection. I wasn't always that way in the past. I used to love having a lot of it and the comparisons and doing like the big collection videos, and I thought that was really awesome. But I'm just in a different phase of my life right now, and the quantity and the heaping amount of makeup that I owned, that's not really what's getting me right now. So I'd rather just keep it to my favorites. You know, of course, every once in a while I'm gonna want to buy new products or try something that I get in PR to be able to test out and review and have. But I don't want to overly saturate with my collection if I don't really feel like it's necessary. So that was a reason why I was okay skipping over the one size. And then moving over to Colourpop, they released some cheek quads in 2021. And I was definitely very interested in these because I do like Colourpop cheek products for the most part. Their Super Shock blushes, that was actually one of the first items I ever purchased from Colourpop, and I really enjoyed them. Their Super Shock highlighters I think are nice, but when they started releasing their powder blushes, I was very into those. So when they were coming out, these cheek quads, I was immediately like, ooh, I want to try those out. I'm so interested in them. But I don't really use face palettes that have one particular product in them all that much. I'd like to use face palettes that have a bronzer, blush, and highlight, or a contour, bronzer, blush, and highlight, and that sort of thing, or a duo with a bronzer and a highlighter, a bronzer and a blush. When it was, you know, when they were coming out with like the blush quads, my first thought was like, oh, I want to try those, and then I was like, but do I really want to? Because I just don't feel like I'm going to use them all that much. So not only did I not purchase these, but I do get quite a bit of PR from Colourpop. I did not keep one cheek palette for myself. I gave them away to my friends. I put them in giveaway boxes. I actually did not keep any of them for myself. Like and that's another thing of like, when it comes to PR, I've been removing myself from PR lists for quite some time. I mean, it was probably, what, a year or two ago that I said it for the first time in a YouTube video that I've been removing myself from some PR lists, because I also don't want to get PR and only try a product one time and then just like move on from it. To me, I used to do it, and right now the thought of it is very overwhelming to me. So I've been giving away entire PR boxes that I get in my giveaways, and it's just, I feel like I just can't keep up with everything. It's just too much. And that was one of those that it was like, I could use this cheek quad and I could try it a couple times, and then it's gonna collect dust in my collection. I know it is. And so, you know, I don't do that to every single product, because again, some things have a little bit more intrigue on the internet, and so I want to be able to review them, or I have my personal reasons for wanting to. But if I feel like it's a product that after I use it and review it, I'm never gonna touch it again, I'm really trying not to keep those. So I don't know, just another thing that I'm working on. But I thought that was interesting, because as I saw those, I was like, I didn't even keep any of those, and I got a lot of them in PR. So moving over to Maybelline, they launched a tinted moisturizer. I think it was around like spring, summertime or so that they launched their Fit Me Tinted Moisturizer. And I really thought about this one because I was very into tinted moisturizers, skin tints, CC creams, the like. I was purchasing so many for myself, testing them out, doing ranking videos, and I really liked the Fit Me line. Maybelline was one of my go-to brands brands when I was younger, before my YouTube days, when I was in high school and when I was in college. I used so much Maybelline, their mascaras, their foundations. When the Fit Me line came out, I really liked a lot of products under that line. Concealers, foundations, they had a powder that I thought was really good. And so when I saw this, I was like, I should buy that. Like, I should get that. It seems like it's gonna be up my alley. I'm very interested. But I will say over the past probably 2 years or so, I've been moving more into high-end makeup. Drugstore makeup, while I still enjoy products like the Maybelline Sky High, I have it on my bottom lashes. I've been really impressed with a lot of Milani releases. As of lately, their Fetish lipsticks, their skin tint, I thought was a really, really good one. So there's definitely still drugstore products that I'm interested in, but my main interest has definitely shifted more into high-end over the past couple of years or so here. And so that was definitely something that held me back. And I've also noticed when I do more high-end videos, that's kind of where my audience is too. I don't know if maybe it's my audience also kind of growing up with me. You know, I've been on YouTube since, what, 2015? So my audience perhaps like growing up with me, or maybe I'm just finding a different audience. I don't know, but I like to look at the analytics and see what's going on. And I would start to notice that my drugstore videos weren't performing as well as they once were. When I first started, I was primarily a drugstore channel because that was all I could afford. But I've been interested more in the high-end recently, so that was on my mind. And then there was a few releases from Maybelline, including their complexion products and cheek products that I've tried as of recently that I just really didn't love as much. I still tend to go to Maybelline for their mascaras, but some of their other releases just haven't been pulling me as much. And so that was kind of another reason why I decided to skip that one and kind of focus on some more of the high-end skin tints and CC creams that were coming out instead. And this was another one where I feel like I didn't really hear a lot of people talk about it. I didn't see a lot of videos going up about it. So once again, curious if you tried that one, but I was okay to skip that one. I really was. From M Cosmetics, they released a cushion highlight, and I was interested in M Cosmetics as a whole, as a brand, in 2021. If you didn't see, I did post a video ranking all of the brands that I tried for the first time in 2021, kind of replacing my brands that I want to try the following year, the 8 brands in 2018, the 9 brands in 2019, and so on. Kind of replacing that and kind of giving it a fresh spin, and instead looking back over the whole year, what are the brands I tried for the first time, and then ranking them from least favorite to top favorite. And I tried M Cosmetics for the first time in 2021, and I really liked a lot of products. They're ranked very highly in that video. But when they released this cushion highlight, you know, I gave it a second glance and I was considering it because I was interested in the brand. But in the end, it wasn't something that pulled me enough to purchase right there on its own. I ended up purchasing, you know, a handful of products from the M Cosmetics website when I finally did make my purchase. And once again, I kind of looked at that highlight and I thought, you know, I thought about this at one point. Should I get it? I'm more interested in these, you know, kind of liquid products as of recently. Maybe it would be fun to try out. It's like, you know what? I just don't think it sounds like me. And I ended up getting the Cushion SPF, which I didn't love that one either. So it kind of made me think like maybe I wouldn't have enjoyed the Cushion highlight. It's just not a product that's for me. So that kind of made me feel a little bit better that I decided to skip over the highlight. But genuinely curious if anyone has tried that one and what you thought of it. Oh, I marked off the wrong one, so I'll just go ahead and jump into that one. It's something from Natasha Denona, the Zendo palette. There was a couple releases from Natasha Denona, like one was the Circo Loco that I had written down, but that was a palette that I saw and I was like, that's not for me, right? Like, that's not for me. I obviously have no regrets skipping over that one. But the Zendo, even though it wasn't one that really pulled me in or caused like my neck almost to break as I was doing a double take, I was still like, you know, I like Natasha Denona. She's one of my absolute favorite brands for eyeshadows, especially. I purchase a lot of her palettes. A lot of them I speak really highly of. So I kind of typically give a double take to the palettes, especially the mini or the midi palettes. Those kind of tend to be my favorites from her. But in the end, I'm really not upset that I didn't purchase this one because, again, I think it would have been one of those eyeshadow palettes, and eyeshadow palettes is particularly one where I want to do a better job. I have some different makeup goals written down for January. I have mentioned this, but I am planning to do a goals video. It's just, it has to be linked up with something else that maybe you can guess what it is. But I'm still finalizing a few things on that end, and then I'm going to do the goals video. And I have some goals in there for eyeshadow palettes and actually using them more, and if I'm not using them, then decluttering them, because I really recently like can't stand just like seeing things not being used. It makes me like flustered and frustrated, and I think that would have been the Zendo, especially with the releases in 2021 that Natasha came out with, the Glam Face and Eye palette, the Retro palette. I mean, just some of those. I have the mini biba on my eyes today. I just purchased that one when it came out. I think that the Zendo would have just gotten lost in the shuffle and I wouldn't have used it, so no regrets. Like the tattoo, you know? I just have three more, that's it, then we're done. One of them, speaking of eyeshadow palettes and my girlfriends, from Pat McGrath, the Heutopian Dream. Again, this was one where it was like, I didn't really think I was going to talk myself into buying it, but sometimes when it comes to these releases, especially with Pat and Charlotte and Natasha, I feel like people get so excited to see me review them, and I always get so many tags. Like, it was just announced that Natasha's coming out with a new palette for Valentine's Day, and someone commented on the Trend Mood post and was like, just here to see how many people tag March Beauty Word, which is my name on Instagram, and that really made me laugh. So, you know, I looked at the Heutopian palette, but the Pat palettes are typically more expensive, and I ended up talking myself out of it, and I think that would have been a good choice because actually Pat eyeshadows tend not to be my favorite. And if you saw my eyeshadow palette, you know, declutter video, excuse me, you would have seen my entire collection in there, and I really don't have a lot from Pat McGrath. Definitely a lot from Natasha Denona, which again is just like a favorite brand of mine for eyeshadows, but Pat I'm just kind of like so-so, and especially with the higher price tag, it's harder for me to end up making those purchases. I will say that I did purchase some from the Bridgerton collection. I've been getting asked a lot of questions on if my order shipped, because I mentioned in a Will I Buy It video that it had been like, what, a week or 10 days later and still absolutely nothing. I finally got my shipping confirmation. I am going to be on vacation the week of January 10th, so I'm not exactly sure when this video is going up, but I'm filming it on the 8th, and I just got the shipping confirmation last night, like very, very late last night on the 7th. So I'm sure it's going to end up arriving when I'm gone, so my video is going to be super late, which I'm very flustered by because I ordered it on Christmas Day. So for it not to ship until January 7th just seems absolutely wild to me. Hopefully that one will be arriving soon, but I'm a little bit nervous about it just because, like I'm saying, sometimes those products from Pat aren't my favorite, but I did get like the blush palette also, so definitely curious, but not sad that I skipped over the Heutopian Dream and I was gonna say saved money, but really just put my money elsewhere when it came to makeup. And then moving on, I have the Anasazi Beverly Hills Cream collection. So specifically like the cream bronzers that released, I was very interested in trying out these, and I'm trying to think what I ended up purchasing because I know I was making a purchase at Sephora and I was between the Anastasia cream bronzer and it might have been the Makeup by Mario stick that I ended up going with, or it might have been the Patrick Ta Shiso LA duo that, or not Shiso LA, She Sculpted, that has the cream contour and then the powder bronzer. But there was one that I ended up going with over the Anastasia, and I'm okay with that. I didn't really love Anastasia's powder bronzers, which obviously the powder and the cream bronzers are completely different products. But again, when you try something that's like similar within the brand and it doesn't work out, it doesn't, or at least for me, it doesn't get me super hyped to then purchase another product similar to that. And there was other ones that I wanted to try and I ended up talking myself out of it. And again, I don't feel like I saw these in like favorites videos. You know, I love watching the 2021 favorites videos and the best ofs and all of that. I don't think I saw really much from Anastasia mentioned in those videos, so I was okay with it. I was cool. And then finally, I wanted to mention the Chanel Advent Calendar. What was this? What did this cost? Was it like $825? I can see my thumbnail that I did for the Will I Buy It video, and I'm pretty sure it was $820. I can't even say that was straight, but I was actually considering buying this Advent Calendar for $825 doll hairs, and so many people in the comments were like, Samantha, we love you, Sam Squad, don't do it. Like, don't do it. And I was like, okay. There were a few comments that were like, yes, I would love to see you do that, and that would be so fun to see the unboxing on your channel. But for the most part, it was like a resounding like, you probably shouldn't do that. $825 for minis, for mystery products, like that's a whole other level. Like, I have a hard time buying the Beautylish lucky bags, and those end up with like the shipping and everything are like $90 or $91, and I'm still like, I don't know if I want to do that. So for me, like, it's just I'm just glad I didn't do it. Okay, I have no regrets that I did not purchase that Chanel advent calendar. I saw some people, I just saw a TikTok unboxing today. Someone tagged me on it. Was it Chanel though? No, it was Dior. It was a Dior one and it had different lipsticks in it. It wasn't, I don't think it was necessarily a advent calendar mystery box thing. I'm like, you know what? When it comes to luxury makeup or really high-end makeup, I think it's just better to buy what you want. I don't know. I think that's what the conclusion that I'm coming to. So what I can say is I'm really glad that I took that $825 and invested it, you know, into my business. Or buying a new hard drive for Vlogmas, my external hard drive, you know, something along those lines, and I didn't do the advent calendar. So thank y'all who steered me in that direction, because I appreciate you. But other than that, that is everything on my list. Those are all of the products in 2021 that I do not regret not buying, that I'm glad that I skipped over. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. So of course, was there a release in 2021 that you were very interested in, you ended up not buying it, and you're like, I'm cool with that, maybe you didn't see it in the best of videos, or you realized it might just not be a good release for you? I'd be super curious to hear your thoughts. As always though, if you enjoyed this one, please make sure to give it a thumbs up. I hope you also consider subscribing before you go, and I'll see you in my next video.